Officer Daniel Clay had been working in a small-town police department for 6 years. Most nights were quiet, just drunks fighting outside bars, petty thefts, and the occasional domestic dispute. But one night, his chief gave him a strange assignment. "Clay," the chief said, sliding a file across the desk, "you'll be patrolling the old highway tonight. We've had reports of incidents, strange ones. People see flashing lights, hear sirens, and then nothing. Cars found abandoned. No drivers. Just gone." Daniel frowned. "So you think it's pranksters?" The chief didn't answer. He just looked tired, like he didn't want to talk about it. "Just do your job, Clay. Stay sharp." The old highway was almost forgotten. Streetlights were broken, paint on the road had faded, and weeds grew through the cracks in the asphalt. As Daniel drove slowly down the stretch of road, his cruiser's headlights cut through the darkness. The radio crackled every so often, but mostly it was silence. Then he saw something, a police car, parked on the side of the road, but it wasn't from his department. It was an older model, paint peeling, and the words County Patrol barely visible. That county had been dissolved 20 years ago. Daniel pulled over. His hand rested on his holster as he stepped out. The car looked abandoned. Dust covered the windows. The radio inside hissed faintly with static. And then, a voice. "Officer." Daniel spun around. A man stood in the dark, wearing a police uniform. His face pale, eyes empty. No badge number, no name tag, just a blank patch where it should be. "The stranger evening," Daniel said cautiously. "You the one patrolling this stretch?" The pale officer smiled too wide. "Been patrolling for a long time." Daniel's stomach tightened. Something about the man felt wrong. His uniform looked old, his boots worn down like he had been walking for decades. "You got ID?" Daniel asked. The stranger tilted his head. "Do you?" Daniel hesitated, his badge gleaming under the cruiser's headlights. The man stepped closer. His shadow stretched unnaturally long across the pavement. "You should leave this road," the stranger whispered. "You should never answer calls out here." Then, before Daniel could react, the stranger vanished. Just the call. Daniel returned to his cruiser, shaken. He picked up the radio. "Dispatch, this is Officer Clay. I've encountered a person, possibly impersonating an officer. Old uniform, county patrol, car looks abandoned, request backup." The radio hissed, then a voice replied, "Copy that, Officer Clay. Backup on the way, stay put." But the voice, it wasn't his dispatcher, it was deeper, slower, almost like someone mocking the tone of dispatch. "Who is this?" Daniel demanded. Only static answered. Then headlights appeared in his rearview mirror. Another police car pulled up behind him. Relieved, Daniel stepped out to greet them. The officer he knew. It was the same pale man, smiling. The haunting Daniel backed away, hand on his gun. "Stay back!" he shouted. The pale officer just stood there, grinning. "Do you know how many of us are still out here? How many never made it back from their shift?" His voice echoed unnaturally, like more than one person was speaking. Daniel raised his weapon, but before he could fire, the man dissolved into shadow. The headlights flickered, and the police car behind him was gone. Only the silence of the empty road remained. The missing officers. The next day, Daniel returned to the station, pale and shaken. He told the chief what happened. The chief stared at him for a long moment before finally speaking. "You saw him?" Daniel frowned. "You knew?" The chief nodded. "Every officer assigned to that highway sees him eventually. Some don't come back." Daniel felt cold. "Then why send me there?" The chief looked down. "Because it's part of the job. Those who vanished years ago, they still patrol that stretch. We can't explain it, but they're out there." Daniel wanted to quit right then, but something inside him told him this wasn't over. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the pale officer's face. In his dreams, he was trapped on the old highway. Police cars lined the road, all abandoned, doors hanging open. Radios inside hissed with voices whispering his name. And then he'd see them, dozens of officers, pale and hollow-eyed, standing in a line across the road, smiling. When he woke up, sweat drenched his body, but he could still hear the faint sound of a police radio hissing in his room. Against his better judgment, Daniel returned to the highway. He needed answers. As he drove, he spotted another abandoned cruiser. This one had blood on the driver's seat. He checked the plates. The car had been listed as missing since 1998. The officer who drove it, Officer Harold Briggs was never found. Then from the trees came movement. Doons of pale officers stepped out of the shadows, all in old uniforms, all smiling. Daniel gripped his radio. "Dispatch, I need immediate backup. Multiple suspects on the highway." The reply came instantly. "Backup is already here, Officer Clay." He froze. It was the same deep, mocking voice. The pale officers closed in. Daniel aimed his gun. "Stay back!" But one of the pale officers stepped forward. His badge gleamed faintly. Daniel recognized the name. It was Officer Harold Briggs. "You're one of us now," Briggs whispered. "Once you see us, you never leave." Daniel fired. The bullet went straight through. The figure didn't fall. Instead, it smiled wider. The other officers began to chant softly, "Badge to badge, night to night, patrol forever." Daniel ran back to his car, started the engine, and sped off. But in the rearview mirror, he saw them chasing him, running at impossible speeds, their pale faces glowing in the cold. Daniel made it back to town, but nothing felt the same. His radio still hissed with voices, even when it was turned off. At night, he saw headlights outside his window, flashing lights, the shadows of officers standing in his yard. He stopped answering calls. He stopped sleeping. One night, the radio whispered again. "Officer Clay, we need you. There's an incident on the highway. Backup requested." He tried to ignore it, but the voice grew louder, more urgent. Finally, he put on his uniform, grabbed his badge, and walked out the door. That was the last time anyone saw Officer Daniel Clay. Weeks later, his cruiser was found parked on the old highway, empty. And now, drivers report seeing another pale officer standing beside the road, a new one, his badge gleaming in the dark. The police station used to feel safe. Bright lights, chatter from fellow officers, the smell of coffee in the break room. But now, for Daniel, it felt haunted. When he walked down the halls, radios would hiss when he passed. Files would fall from shelves on their own. One night, as he was finishing paperwork, the phone on his desk rang. He picked it up. "Clay here." On the other end came the faint sound of a police radio, then a whisper. "Badge to badge, night to night." He slammed the phone down, but it rang again immediately. His hands trembled as he picked it up. This time there was only silence, until a long, slow exhale, like someone was standing right behind him. He spun around. The room was empty. The missing report determined to learn the truth. Daniel searched the archives. He found dozens of reports marked confidential, each one the same. An officer sent to patrol the old highway. Each one never returned, and each file had been closed without explanation. He found a photo, dated 1982, a group of officers smiling in front of their cruisers. His blood ran cold. Every single one of those officers was one of the pale figures he had seen on the road. Files would fall from shelves on their own. One night, as he was finishing paperwork, the phone on his desk rang. He picked it up. "Clay here." On the other end came the faint sound of a police radio, then a whisper. "Badge to badge, night to night." He slammed the phone down, but it rang again immediately. His hands trembled as he picked it up. This time there was only silence, until a long, slow exhale, like someone was standing right behind him. He spun around. The room was empty. The missing report determined to learn the truth. Daniel searched the archives. He found dozens of reports marked confidential. Files would fall from shelves on their own. One night, as he was finishing paperwork, the phone on his desk rang. He picked it up. "Clay here." On the other end came the faint sound of a police radio, then a whisper. "Badge to badge, night to night." He slammed the phone down, but it rang again immediately. His hands trembled as he picked it up. This time there was only silence, until a long, slow exhale, like someone was standing right behind him. He spun around. The room was empty. The missing report determined to learn the truth. Daniel searched the archives. He found dozens of reports marked confidential, each one the same. An officer sent to patrol the old highway. Each one never returned, and each file had been closed without explanation. He found a photo, dated 1982, a group of officers smiling in front of their cruisers. His blood ran cold. Every single one of those officers was one of the pale figures he had seen on the road. Files would fall from shelves on their own. One night, as he was finishing paperwork, "What's going on with you?" Daniel tried to explain. "They're out there, the lost officers. They're watching me. They want me." Miller frowned. "You need rest, man. Take some days off." But Daniel knew it was too late. He could feel them closer every night. Then one evening, Miller called him. Clay, where are you? You didn't clock in. Daniel answered in a weak voice. I'm already on patrol. Miller froze. On patrol? Where? The line went dead. That was the last anyone ever heard from Daniel Clay. The new recruit weeks later, another officer, young, fresh out of the academy, was assigned to the old highway. He laughed when the others warned him. Ghost stories, huh? I don't believe in that. But on his first night, he called dispatch, terrified. I saw someone, an officer. Uniform looked old. He knew my name. The dispatcher asked, what was his name? The rookie stammered. His badge said, Clay. Epilogue. Now drivers who pass the old highway late at night say they see two figures standing together in the dark. One is an older, pale officer with empty eyes. The other is newer, younger. His face still recognizable. His name still fresh. Officer Daniel Clay. Still patrolling, forever.